Welcome guys to the 17th beginning Java tutorial, and today's topic is for loop. So before beginning for loop, let's take a closer look at the while loop. Suppose we want to print the first 10 natural numbers using while loop, then we will simply declare a control variable that will be counter, and we will create our while loop, and inside this will be counter less than or equal to 10 system.out.println, and then its value will be counter, and we will increase the value of counter by 1. And when we run this, we will get the first 10 natural numbers. So in this while loop, we are dealing with numbers, that is our control variable is a number, and there may be other times when our while loop runs on a string condition. So when we deal with numbers using while loop, then we always encounter three things, that is initialization of a variable, and then the condition, and finally an iteration statement which either increments or decrements the loop's control variable. So these three things always occur in such looping conditions, and developers thought, why not to keep all these things in the same place? So for that, a more refined form of iteration statement was made, and that is the for loop. So let's comment this code, select this and right click, and then go to source and then add block comment. So now let's move on to the syntax of the for loop. We write for and then this body, and between this parenthesis we have three parts. The first one is initialization, and then we have condition, and finally iteration. So let's write this very program in which we printed the first 10 natural numbers using this for loop. So we will write this initialization part right here, and this condition will be here, and the iteration will be in this part, and this print line statement will go in the body of this for loop. So you can see all this code was squeezed down in only this simple and more manageable form. So let's understand how this for loop works. The variable that we initialize inside this for loop, if it is declared and initialized here, then it will be local only inside this for loop, and we cannot use this counter variable outside this for loop. And if it was declared outside this for loop, we can also initialize it here, and that can be used outside this for loop as well. And initially this counter is set to 1, and then the condition will be checked, is 1 less than or equal to 10, and it is, so this statement will be executed. And then when all the statements inside this body of for are executed, then finally this statement will run, which will change the value of counter. In this case, counter will be changed to 2, and then again this condition part is executed. Is 2 less than or equal to 10? So it is, and again this statement will run. And finally, when the value of counter is 10 and then it is increased here, it will be now 11, and 11 is not less than or equal to 10, so the body of the for loop is terminated. So let's run the program, click OK, and we get the same result. So this is a most basic example of this for loop. And similarly, we can specify this iteration statement using addition assignment operator, subtraction assignment, multiplication, division, or even modulus assignment operator. So if we want to increase the value of counter, let's say by 2, then we can do counter plus equals 2, and let's run the program, and this time it will print the first 5 odd numbers. We can also do counter multiply equals 2, and it will give us the multiples. It will give the value that results by that is double of the value that is printed here. Double of 1 is 2, and it's double 4, and 4 times 2 8. So that is all about this initialization part. And if this initial value of counter is greater than the value of or let's say if it exceeds the range, then the body of this loop will not be executed. Suppose if it was 11 and then we try to run this program, we will not get the result because counter is initially greater than 10 and this condition is false. So that is all to understand about this for loop. So the next thing is we can also have nested loops. A while loop can be inside a for loop can be inside a do while loop, and so on. So let's write one program using these nested loops. Select this code and just delete it, and now we will print this pattern using nested loops. That is 1 and 3. Fine. So we will be printing this pattern using nested loops. So first of all, we need to have outer loop that will control the number of rows. So here we have 5 rows, and that will be 4, and then I equals 1, I is less than or equal to 5, and I plus plus. So here we have 5 rows, so going from 1 to 5 we will get 5 rows. And it's actually a programming practice to name control variable of the outer loop as I and the control variable of inner loop as j. So the inner loop will be 4 and then int j equals 1. Now see here, the number of columns in a row is decided by the variable I. So in this first case, the variable the value of variable I is 1, so is the number of columns, and in this case the value is 2, and so is the number of columns. So this range of j will be from 1 to less than or equal to I, and finally j plus plus. And now we require a variable that will print these numbers, and let's name it int n. And every time this a row is printed, the value of n is set to 1. So that will be n equals 1. And now we can print the value of use print and then n plus plus. So here, after printing each number, a space is given, so we will write n plus plus and then plus a space. So we wrote here n plus plus because after printing a number, its value is increased for the next time. So we had n plus plus. In this first case, the value of n is 1, and then it will be printed 1, and the value will now change to 2. And since in the first run it contains only one column, we will not see the value 2, but in the second case, value 1 will be printed, and then it will be increased to 2, and then that value 2 will be printed again. So finally we need a new line, so that after each row cursor moves to the next line. So for that, we will print line an empty string. Now let's understand this program again. When the value of I is 1, the range of inner loop will be from 1 to I, and every time we enter inside this inner loop, value of n will be 1, because all time it is starting to print from 1. So in the first case, value of j will be 1, and its range will be from 1 to 1. That means it will run just once, and it will print n, and then the value of n will be increased. So in the first case, it will print 1 and leave a space, and now the value of n is changed to 2. Since the loop is not repeated again in the first case, its value remains 2, but it is not printed. And now we just printed an empty string, so that we move to the next line. And now we are in the next line. So the value of I is now 2, and n is again 1. And now this inner loop goes from 1 to 2. So in the first run, the value of n will be 1, and that is printed, leaving a space and changing the value of n to 2. And when this inner loop is repeated next time, the value of n will be 2, and it will be printed, and its value will now change to 3. Since it is repeated just for one time, we will not get 3, but next time we will get 3, and then 4 and 5. Now let's run the program. Okay, and we get the result. So you can practice other patterns like this. Let me give you some. One can be 5 4 3 2 1, and then 5 4 3 2 5 4 3 5 4, and then 5. And also it can be 4 3 2 1, and then 3 2 1 2 1, and then 1. And similarly, you can Google for similar patterns and practice by yourself, and you can easily master these for loops.